What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are outside of our shop because guess what? We're getting ready to start a new project. So we have this 1984 sedan. What is it?
It's a 280 SE.
280 SE.
I believe it's a W126 chassis. I could be wrong.
This came from Louisiana. Our buddy Josh, he's actually a new customer. He posted a picture on Facebook. It was on a tow truck. And I said, yo, homie, what are you doing with that car? And he said, I'm gonna send it to you, of course. So here it is, man. This thing came to us. I mean, look at the tire on this thing. It looks like it hasn't moved in a long time. And judging from the interior, Grandma hasn't drove this car in a long time. So we are going to be doing a full interior. We're gonna be redoing all this stuff. What are we doing? We keeping this motor?
No, we're not keeping this.
No, we're not keeping this motor.
I mean, it's cool and all. It's a straight six, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and swap a V8 in here.
We have a connected cruise LS3 Chevy performance motor backed up with a 4L60.
It's a 6L80.
6L80, yeah, 6L80. We're gonna be ripping this complete drivetrain out. We're gonna be doing the Salvage detail work in the engine compartment, cleaning it up, smoothing it out, making it pretty. We're gonna be doing a full paint job on this thing because as you see, it is pretty rough. Pretty rough, man. We're gonna probably be throwing some 22s on this piece with possibly some air shocks that Dave sourced out already. And Andrew, what do we got for the rear end on this thing? We're ripping that out, correct?
Yeah, so this was a smaller 280 model, and what we're gonna be doing is swapping the whole rear cross member, drive shafts, rear differential, all from the 500 series model, which is a lot larger and can take more torque. So it's gonna be more suited for the V8 that's going under the hood, and it's gonna be a bolt-in deal. I say bolt-in, but
yeah,
we're definitely gonna change all the bushings, all the joints, but a beefier rear end overall. We'll also get a brand new drive shaft, and like Mikey said, we got our transmission to round out the drivetrain.
So throwing a V8 in it, but the plan for this car is try to keep it quiet. It's kind of gonna be like a sleeper. It's gonna be low, it's gonna be sleek, and it's gonna be sexy. So let's get to work.
Okay, we got the engine bay all deloused. Still some junk in here we'll have to get once we disassemble, but this is pretty good at least to be able to pull out the motor. I'm gonna go next to the interior, which smells as bad as it looks. It is musty in here, and as you can see, there's lots of stuff that needs to be addressed. So we've got this trim coming off, this trim coming off, this trim from over here gone. There's a tiger in the car that's dangerous, so all of this is going to have to be gone through. Also, any of you guys out there practicing your German, we've got temperature, entfrosten, oben, unten, normal, ohe, Kühlung, and aus. And don't forget Geblasse. And there's the original Blaupunkt tape cassette deck here in the back. Not much going on besides all these spider webs. So I'm gonna throw away all this trash and then get in here with the shop vac and just clean it up a little bit. All right, so I opened the trunk, which might have been a big mistake. So now it's my responsibility. We got some things here to discard. Hopefully no bodies under there. Looks like Andrew over here caught himself a real big one.
Reeling it in?
Reeling it in. So yeah, with these Mercedes, these front cross members are welded in, so you gotta lift it at the extreme angle to get it to come out. But once you get started with it and you get it set up correctly, it's actually pretty easy.
All right, we're maxed out.
All right, with Andrew's help, we got this motor out, sitting on our engine stand. And now we got this, an empty engine bay, but also not that empty. So we got a mess of vacuum hoses, other components like cruise control, our coil, all of our fuse box, brake system, some other wiring over there. Since everything else is going, we're gonna start all fresh here. So let's get to it. Let's get disassembling. We are in the interior, and as you can see, there is a busted stuff that we're gonna have to remake or redo. But to get started, we're just gonna pull this whole dash because we'll have to mount all of our controllers. Also, we need to get to the AC condenser to get our lines pulled through the front to get them out of the firewall. So let's keep going, get the steering wheel, instrument cluster, and start getting these dash bolts out. All right, we got the center console out and the dash out, and as you could see, it was a complicated world in 1984 in Germany. So I think my next step is gonna get organized, take all of my nuts and bolts, parts that I took out, sort them and bag them. All right, we got the Benz back outside for round 2 of pressure washing. We took a partition out, took the motor out, and now we got more grease and more of these to contend with. So Mikey sprayed this all with some degreaser. It's all soaked in, doing its job. So we're gonna start to blast this guy out, get all clean. Our cowl's also open now, so we can get inside there. Get this really clean before we start putting that brand new LS motor. Okay, we got our cleaned engine bay Mercedes back on the lift, and we are prepping this LS motor.
It's an engine, not a motor.
An LS engine and a 608 transmission.
Hydromatic 6-speed.
So we're gonna mate these guys up. We're gonna take the intake off so we can get our lift plate on, and we'll bring our cherry picker over and start to squeeze it in here and see what kind of clearances we have, what we don't have.
Still got these junky mounts on here. We'll pull these
we'll
off.
pull those out too. We'll definitely be putting some new stuff on. So yeah, let's get this stripped off, get our plate connected.
So we have to see if this oil pan's gonna work. We're gonna see how far back we have to set the engine. We're also gonna see what type of mounts we're gonna have to fabricate. And then also it's gonna help us understand how we're gonna clear our exhaust manifolds past our steering gearbox. So there's a lot of things that are going into fitting this in here.
I thought we just put it in and turned the key.
I mean, I figured it sounded that simple.
First thing that we noticed is that this oil pan is definitely not going to work with this steering setup. You can see all the steering components are behind the cross member, and that's right where this sump comes down. So Andrew's actually looking up pan options to have, a sump, more shallow sump, cut off this section. That way it could sit behind our rear steering. I guess it's like a piston, assist piston, make the steering smooth. In the meantime, in order just to get this further down and see other parts of the exhaust and where the transmission is going to sit, I'm going to pull the pan off of this. That way we could actually sink it down to where it needs to be, and we could take some more measurements. Yeah, we pulled the pan off and the pickup tube off just so we could maneuver it a little better. And this is the position where we like it. So we got it even left to right, front to back. And there's a couple considerations though. The biggest being this exhaust manifold. So as you can see where the steering gearbox is, that's going to get in the way of any sort of exhaust in this area and leaving the manifold as well. So I think we made the decision that we're going to go to rack and pinion steering.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that. It's just, you know, another system to have to rebuild, but it's looking like there's not really any options other than getting rid of that gearbox so we can have an exhaust system come out in a normal fashion. Oil pan, that's really simple. We'll give our guys over at Sicky a call. They make several different designs of their LS swap oil pans. Once we get the pan, once we get the steering rack, then we can figure out the mounting position, and then we'll make a bracket.
You can also see here's the factory motor mount, and then here's our spot, one of our bolting points for the motor mounts. So they're pretty close to each other, so we're not gonna have too much issue.
And then we'll see if we have to make a trans cross member, because I'm not sure where that'll end up. This positioning of the engine, I think, is very similar to where it was, so we might end up being able to use the cross member for the trans, maybe.
Okay, we got our transmission up on our stand and we made some reference marks. We took some reference measurements from the sway bar as far as distance this way and height. So we could sort of put this up here and just get a quick visual and see how much of this is gonna interfere with our stock transmission tunnel. They're looking really good. As far as height goes, we're going to be getting a shorter depth pan to go in this. That way we get some more clearance underneath. That'll be the main issue. But as far as fitting in the tunnel and the height goes, everything looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, so far it doesn't look like we have to make any major modifications. But once we get the engine oil pan and our multi-link steering that comes from the factory and we get our rack and pinion bolted on here, we'll be able to know for sure if this is our final height, because it is fairly low, and Dave did mention we are going to get a different sump for the transmission pan, gain a little bit of height there, and then we'll make that last call if we really have to go up with it anymore. We are going to have a fairly big set of wheels on here, so the ground clearance isn't that much of an issue. I'm not too worried about it being extremely low because the car is inherently just going to go up with the wheel size. So I think we're okay with that, but we really can't make any final decisions until we have the pan and our steering rack here. But so far it's looking like no.
Next step, order some parts.
Yeah, next step's order some parts, and then we also have some other things here. Big blue.
The big blue.
Big blue.
Oh yeah, we have a giant rear end.
Yeah, so we have the whole rear suspension assembly for this vehicle. Subframe, axles, rear differential, bearings, brakes. I mean, there's even a wheel and tire still on there, but
yeah,
not that we're gonna be using that stuff, but that's how complete it is. That's all from a 500 SE, so it's a little bit stronger. We're gonna start pulling that apart and make sure that everything fits up the way it should.
Okay, so we've deleted our entire steering system. Our steering gearbox is gone, all the linkages out of here. Next, we are going to prep for putting this guy in. So the only thing from up top that needs to be disconnected is the top of the shock. These pieces here lie behind here. That means I gotta take out the bottom of the bench, the back of the bench, and then I'll be able to reach the hardware up top. So I'm gonna do that now, so that way when we're ready to do this, we don't have to keep going back up and down with the car, and we could just make all of our disconnections from the bottom for the subframe. All right, we got our upgraded rear end and subframe assembly, axles, everything reattached up here. We got a few more bolts to throw in it. One thing, our old rear end didn't have this heat sink and it bolted direct to here, and now the new one moves over here. So 2 of these holes line up, but we're gonna have to do something about these other 2 right here. Not exactly sure yet how to approach that.
Super easy.
It's captured. What do you want to do, Andrew?
What do I want to do?
Yeah,
Go home and take a nap.
go home, take a nap.
And Dave said we have to make 2 mounting provisions there, but other than that, everything just bolted in. 2 large mounts in the front of the subframe, bolt right into the original mounts. And then, what else do we gotta do here? All the braking stuff, we all gotta put that back together.
Yeah.
We have new shocks and springs that are gonna go in here. I think we're doing air ride, so that stuff's all gonna go away. And yeah,
That's
so
it.
like I said, we're gonna refresh everything back here with all the bushings, repaint everything, all look all brand new. But yeah, we wanted to put this up here to make sure that there was no modification needed, and there isn't. We just have to make 2 mounting holes. Very, very easy to do. Now we can move on to the rest.
So that is about it for our mock-up stage on the Mercedes. We gotta order a whole bunch of parts, but stay tuned for next time because we're gonna get into the chopping, welding, and fabrication stage in this build. So like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.